Facts about abortion, history, statistics, and debate. 1. Contrary to popular belief, abortion is a 5,000-year-old concept. Since there was little discussion of it before that time, many people believe that abortion is a recent trend. However, abortion facts show that it predates the 20th century human rights campaigns, which most people closely associate with women's contemporary freedom of choice. Abortion procedures have been practiced by people for about 5,000 years, dating back to the first induced abortions in 2700 BC in ancient China. 2. Not every abortion is intentionally caused. Today, the majority of people associate the term abortion with a deliberate choice to end a pregnancy, yet abortion statistics demonstrate that the term's correct scientific usage is much broader. Abortion is the intentional or unintentional termination of a pregnancy, including spontaneous abortion and induced abortion. In actuality, between 15 and 30% of all known pregnancies result in miscarriage, often known as a spontaneous abortion. 3. The typical cutoff point for induced abortion is 24 weeks. A typical human pregnancy lasts 40 weeks and is separated into 3 trimesters, the first 12 weeks, the 13th to 28th weeks, and the 29th week, which is when labor and delivery begin. Abortion is typically permitted up until the 24th week of pregnancy in the majority of the world. Induced abortions after that point are exceedingly uncommon and only performed in the most extreme situations in which there are serious fetal abnormalities or life-threatening hazards for pregnant women. Less than 2% of induced abortions are currently performed at week 21 or later, with the majority occurring before week 20. 4. The risks are lower the earlier the induced abortion is performed. Every medical operation carries some level of health risk, and abortion is no exception. The woman may be at risk for bleeding, infections, anesthesia complications, cervix injury, internal organ damage, infertility, psychological issues, and in severe circumstances, even death. The chance of dying during an abortion is, however, 13 times lower than the risk of dying during childbirth, and the risk is typically lower if the abortion is performed earlier in the pregnancy. For instance, only 1 in 500,000 women who are 8 weeks or more pregnant and have an abortion die during the process, and 1 in 6,000 women who are 21 weeks or more pregnant and have an abortion die as a result. The hazards are obviously much higher if the abortion is carried out improperly, referred to as unsafe abortion, as opposed to safe abortions carried out by medical professionals using appropriate equipment. 5. The most common surgical procedure used to induce abortion is vacuum aspiration. At least, that is when the majority of women choose to have an abortion, in the first few weeks of their pregnancies. The fetus is suctioned from the uterus during vacuum aspiration. Dilation and curettage, usually referred to as D&C and utilized only in early abortions, is the second most used surgical procedure for inducing abortion. Later on in the pregnancy, other methods like medical induction, intact dilation and extraction, IDX, or hysterectomy are performed. 6. Medical abortions don't always work. Pregnant women tend to employ medical procedures more frequently than surgical ones since they are less invasive, though roughly equally safe, and involve the use of drugs like prostaglandin analogs and antiprogestogens. Medical abortions typically have a success rate of between 75 and 98%, depending on the procedure employed and other variables, and those that fail for a variety of reasons must be carried out surgically. 7. Annually, 20 million unsafe abortions are carried out worldwide. Facts about abortion show that the most majority of these procedures, 97%, are carried out in underdeveloped nations, where they also annually result in millions of injuries and tens of thousands of fatalities. According to estimates, unsafe induced abortions account for 8 to 13% of all pregnancy and post-pregnancy fatalities globally. Nearly 50% of all abortions carried out a year are still thought to be dangerous. 8. In the U.S., the first trimester is where around 90% of all induced abortions take place. This is consistent with the data showing that earlier in the pregnancy abortions are performed, the lower the risk of problems. 1 in 4 abortions are performed within the first 6 weeks of pregnancy, 3 in 5 between weeks 6 and 12, 1 in 10 between weeks 13 and 20, and just 1 in 70 during week 21 or beyond. 9 women make up 1/3 of the population in nations where abortion is illegal. In North America, as well as a large portion of Europe and Asia, induced abortions are available legally upon request. Other countries of the world have far tighter abortion regulations. The majority of South American, African, and South Asian nations have laws that forbid abortion except in situations when the mother's life is in danger, the woman has a mental illness, a physical condition, or the pregnancy was the product of rape. Vatican City, Malta, the Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Chile, and the Dominican Republic are a few nations that do not permit abortions at any time. Australia is the nation with the most disparate laws regulating access to abortion. Each territory has its own set of regulations, and while all of the territories allow for abortions, the rules vary greatly across the nation. 10. In the U.S., IDX surgical abortion is prohibited by federal law. The surgical procedure of abortion known as intact dilation and extraction, IDX, sometimes known as partial birth abortion, was made illegal nationwide in 2003 by the Partial Birth Abortion Ban Act. Since the IDX method is commonly employed between weeks 15 and 26, the law aims to prevent late second trimester abortions even if it does not specify a pregnancy time limit. 11 to 50% of women seeking abortions have already undergone an induced abortion. Facts about abortion show that individuals who oppose the right to an induced abortion on demand commonly cite these figures because they imply that abortion is frequently used as a substitute for other forms of contraception. People who oppose abortion for moral, religious, or other reasons frequently claim that it is too simple to have one and that making it accessible encourages what they see as unethical and irresponsible behavior. 12 white women in the U.S. had the highest rate of induced abortions. White women account for about 36% of all induced abortions performed in the United States, followed by African American women, 30%, Hispanic women, 25%, and women of other races, 9%. These figures dispel one of the most pervasive misconceptions about abortion, namely that women from ethnic minorities in the U.S. are more likely to have an induced abortion. 13 religious women choose to undergo abortions as well. According to statistics on abortion, 28% and 37%, respectively, of U.S. women who had induced abortions identify as Catholic and Protestant, respectively. In this category, about 2/3 of the women had already given birth to one or more children. This illustrates that many women who identify with a specific faith do opt to end their pregnancies, even though some groups of individuals reject induced abortion on moral grounds. 14. Only 49 days following the last period, medical abortion is permitted. Medical and surgical abortion are both options for women in the early stages of pregnancy, but as the pregnancy develops, surgical abortion is the only one available. Mifepristone, which suppresses the hormone progesterone, and misoprostol, which makes the uterus contract and pushes the embryo out, are typically taken together by women who elect for an abortion early enough.